So I just finished watching Black Adam, the latest DCU movie, and I thought I would just chat about it real quick, um, or maybe take a little bit more time. Uh, it's it, I was hesitant to watch this one. I ended up being able to watch it. A friend of mine loaned it to me, and I've as a longtime DC fan, I've been disappointed in a lot of the movies, and I knew this one wasn't getting very good reviews. And I think the reviews are fair. I think it's okay. This discussion is going to be with spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to have it spoiled, then shut this off because I'm not going to try and avoid spoilers. I think that the film is kind of a mess. It's kind of like half formed, and things happen, and I think the pacing is very problematic. I was pretty excited when I don't know about pretty excited, but I thought it was kind of cool that they were including the Justice Society in there. And I assume it's because of this story here, Black Rain. Um, so in the movie, Black Adam is was in the mythical city, not mythical, but it doesn't exist in real life, Kahndaq. And here on the DC, was it DCFandom.com, it talks about Kahndaq is a Middle Eastern country created. Its first appearance was in 52, number one in July 2006. So there's 52. And so there is Black Adam in Kahndaq. Okay. And you can see the Justice Society there. I don't think that's correct because here is Black Rain, and you could see in here, he says, missed my Kahndaq language class. What did Black Adam say? So there's Black Adam addressing the people of Kahndaq. And this book was it was printed in 2005, published in 2005, but it's actually based on comics from 2003 and 2004. So I think this is wrong. This, I believe, is the first actual reference of Kahndaq. And I do remember he basically, and I don't think he was from Kahndaq, but he just kind of adopted the place. That's my memory. I haven't read these books since probably the year they came out. So I don't really remember much about it, but I remember them kind of trying to rehabilitate Black Adam, DC Comics. Still a hero, I mean, still a villain, but protective of this country of Kahndaq. So I think the problems with the film, first of all, they changed Black Adam's origin, and I don't think they improved it. They made it more complicated. It was actually quite simple when they did it in the Shazam movie. Uh, he was given the power of six gods, not the same gods as Captain Marvel, but six gods, and he abused the power, and so they took it away from him. Um, and they made it a lot more complicated. They also didn't show him doing anything. They said he became tyrannical, I guess, but they never showed it. So the story is not a redemption arc at all. So I think that's a problem because it just doesn't go along with the origin of Black Adam, and it would have been a good story. But I think that they didn't want, they got Dwayne Johnson, and I guess they didn't want to make him a villain, although he kills a lot of people brutally. But I guess they're all bad guys, so it's okay. The usage of the Justice Society I thought was a bit odd. They're not really introduced. They just appear in the movie. They are working with Amanda Waller and her Task Force X. I don't recall JSA ever working with Task Force X, which is basically the Suicide Squad. Now they clearly are not part of the Suicide Squad, but I don't know why they're working with Amanda Waller. There's only four members of the JSA in there, and they include Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Atom Smasher, and Cyclone, which is a really odd choice. I get Dr. Fate, I get Hawkman. I'm okay with Atom Smasher. Cyclone was a weird choice. Gosh, I can think of other. I guess maybe I would have gone with. Well, they've already used Black Canary. That's the problem. They can't use Black Canary. So JSA is so male heavy that maybe that's all they had left. So there's other characters. They did a racial swap on Hawkman. He's now black. I don't have a problem with racial swaps. I just don't understand why, since you could have just used Mr. Terrific, who I think is a great character. And he's black, so you could have used Mr. Terrific. And I think I would have liked Mr. Terrific, or you could have Mr. Terrific and Hawkman. I don't know why they wanted to limit it to just four. For me, by far, my favorite was Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, and I thought Dr. Fate was amazing. And I loved the way he fought. He would twist reality, and it was really, really neat how they did that. And they used some pretty amazing special effects. And Pierce Brosnan, I thought, was just fantastic in the role. So this being DC, then here again, spoiler alert, this being DC, they killed him. And so I guess that's the end of Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. I think he could have gone on and done a movie himself. But they decided to kill him. So the movie starts, there's the MacGuffin, as they say in movies, is the Crown of Sabak. And Intergang is trying to get a hold of it. I guess Intergang is running the show in Kahndaq. So Kahndaq is not free because of Intergang. Now, people watching the movie are probably like, "Who's Intergang?" Because they never introduce it. They never introduce the Justice Society. They never introduce Intergang. They never explain who Intergang is. I can tell you who Intergang is. Intergang was from memory, it was created by Jack Kirby in the 1960s or 1970s, early 70s. They were an international gang who used incredible technology, and that's what they're doing in the movie. They have this futuristic technology, but it's never explained where they got it from. In the comic books, it's explained that Intergang was basically a criminal outfit of Darkseid, and that's how they were getting these weapons, was through Darkseid. But it's never mentioned in this movie. And not only is Intergang not mentioned as to who they are, but about halfway through the movie they just disappear, and you don't see them again. When they mentioned that it was the Crown of Sabak, I recognized that name as one of Captain Marvel villains. So Sabak is yet another character whose name is an acronym. And in the comics, a fellow would say Sabak, and then he would turn into Sabak. Sabak basically looked like the classic Satan, and is a character that is a similar level of power to Captain Marvel. So he is a match for Captain Marvel. Now, Sabak is released. There's quite a bit of the film left. So it's a long battle with Sabak. And I think the problem is, again, they don't introduce who Sabak is. And it reminds me a lot of the first Suicide Squad movie, which I hated, where they end up fighting it was the Enchantress, and she's just this mystical being, and she can create like zombie-like creatures or whatever. I can't even remember now. And Sabak does the same thing. He's a mystical creature who creates, and it's just the kind of like undead, like these burning undead, and then gives the humans something to do so they can go out there and smack around the undead. There's a lot of cool visuals. I liked seeing these characters brought to life, but the movie just felt like it was a mess. Like there was a lot of stuff that was on the cutting room floor. I don't know if there is an explanation of Intergang, but I don't think you can sit there and throw something like that in a movie and not explain who they are. Why are they able to fly around on like these flying motorcycles or whatever and have these weapons and stuff? It doesn't really make sense. I also had a problem with the fact I'm wondering how the Justice Society even fits into the DCU in the movies, because where were they? I mean, they've they've had big events happen on Earth, and they were nowhere to be seen. And given now, it appears that Atom Smasher and Cyclone are fairly new to the crime fighting to fighting crime, but Dr. Fate and Hawkman, it appears, have been around quite a while. So where were they, and how do they fit in? Because when you watch Man of Steel, you get the impression that Superman is the first kind of a revelation of a superhero. And even though they kind of make it clear later that Batman had been operating, he's a human being and was simply a vigilante who was extremely talented. But where did the Justice Society come from? Are we to expect? I mean, clearly they are part of this DC universe in the movies, because at the end, Henry Cavill's Superman makes an appearance in a post-credit scene. Are they going to do something more with them? Why kill Dr. Fate? Now they're down to 3 members. There's a lot of other members that I think would have been cool. I would have liked to see, I don't know, Hourman or Dr. Midnight, and I guess maybe, I don't know what the thinking was. Like Dr. Midnight, he's maybe too weak to fight against a character like Sabbac. Somehow they certainly seem to upgrade the power of Hawkman, because he kind of almost held his own against Black Adam. At least he wasn't getting killed by Black Adam's punches and throws. So, I don't know. I mean, Dr. Midnight was just a normal human being with blackout bombs, but there's a lot. I can imagine some characters would be problematic. Green Lantern would be problematic because they probably want to do something else. They couldn't use Flash. I don't know that this is the way I would want the Justice Society introduced. I think it would have been cool if they had been introduced as, say, an alternate Earth group, and then you could say, okay, it's Flash, but this is an alternate Flash and an alternate Green Lantern, and it's all different. This kind of, it almost seemed like they threw away the possibilities for Justice Society going forward by tossing them in this film. So that was kind of disappointing. I was entertained by the film. It's definitely not for me, the weakest of the DCU movies by far was Birds of Prey. I thought that was absolute garbage. The first Suicide Squad was pretty bad. I've liked a lot of films that a lot of people didn't like. I thought Man of Steel was fantastic. I liked Batman versus Superman. And then we got to Justice League, and things fell apart. So, and I liked the new Batman movie. I thought that was entertaining. But this one's middle of the road. There are entertaining parts. I thought Dwayne Johnson was great. It's just I didn't feel like I was watching Black Adam. I felt like I was watching a hero, because he just pretty much was a hero through the whole movie. Just a violent hero, and that's all. And so, I mean, that's kind of my nerd take on it, because I get into I get annoyed by the stuff like Intergang. And I can imagine that a non-comic book viewer watching it might get confused and might start having questions, and no answers are given. So who knows? I don't know how much got trimmed during editing. but I think they could have really improved the pacing and could have just kind of thrown out a lot of stuff and given a lot more backstory, a lot more information. It just does not have the smooth feel of a Marvel movie where they've done a lot of work on planning this stuff out. This one just seems thrown together. I have not even watched Wonder Woman 1984, although it came out a couple years ago, but because it looks so bad. But I loved the first Wonder Woman movie, but I don't know what's going on with DC. They are definitely struggling to get it together. And I know a lot of people are mad because they canceled the Batgirl movie. And for me, I'm not sad because if they're looking at it, if the studio that released Birds of Prey is looking at it and saying this movie is not fit for being released, then it's probably pretty bad because Birds of Prey was unwatchable. Anyway, that's my take on Black Adam.